Chapter 1. Obey the schedule, not your mood. Midnight to 3 o'clock, the morning war. Imagine it is 5:30 a.m. The room is cold, the blankets are heavy, and the sun hasn't even considered rising yet. Your alarm goes off, that jarring, rhythmic intrusion into your peace. In that split second, a trial begins. You are the judge, the jury, and the defendant. Your feelings take the stand first. They argue that you didn't get enough sleep. They point out that your throat feels a little scratchy, or that it's raining outside, or that the big project isn't actually due until Friday. Your feelings are incredibly persuasive. They are masters of the just this once logic. Most people live their entire lives at the mercy of this courtroom. They wake up and perform a mood check. They ask themselves, how do I feel today? Do I feel motivated? Do I feel inspired? Do I feel like going for that run? If the answer is no, and let's be honest, the answer is usually no, they stay in bed. They wait for a better mood to arrive. But here is the cold, hard truth that separates the elite from the average. Success is built on predecisions. If you are waiting until the moment of action to decide whether or not you're going to act, you have already lost. You have surrendered your crown to your hormones. In this book, we start with a foundational law. We obey the schedule, not the mood. We move from being reactive animals to being proactive architects. 3 to 7 o'clock, the argument. The architecture of predecision. Why is a schedule so much more powerful than a mood? Because a schedule is an act of your highest self. When you sit down on a Sunday night and plan your week, you are using your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for logic, long-term planning, and values. You are king laying out the laws for your kingdom. However, when Tuesday morning rolls around and you don't want to do the work, you are operating from your limbic system, the primitive, lizard brain that only cares about immediate comfort and safety. When you obey your mood, you are letting the lizard run the kingdom. Discipline is the act of honoring the king's decree even when the lizard is screaming. We call this removing the debate. High performers do not negotiate with themselves. They don't wake up and wonder if they will work out. That decision was made 3 days ago when the schedule was written. Think about the pilot of a commercial airliner. When they encounter turbulence, they don't check their mood to see if they feel like flying the plane. They follow a checklist. They obey the flight plan. They trust the instruments, not their gut feelings of fear or boredom. Your life is that aircraft. Your schedule is the flight plan. If you fly based on how you feel, you will eventually crash. 7 to 12 o'clock, the examples, the 5 a.m. standard. Let's look at the people who have mastered this. Consider the elite athlete. Do you think Kobe Bryant felt like getting under the squat rack at 4 a.m. for the 10th year in a row? Do you think he woke up every day with a smile and a burst of dopamine? No. There were days his knees ached, his back was stiff, and his mind was tired. But Kobe didn't check his mood. He checked his watch. He worked because it was 4 a.m., and 4 a.m. was for work. Look at the great writers. Anthony Trollope, one of the most prolific novelists in history, had a schedule. He would sit at his desk at 5:30 a.m. and write exactly 250 words every 15 minutes. If he finished a novel before his 3 hours were up, he didn't celebrate or take a break. He took out a fresh sheet of paper and started the next novel immediately. He didn't wait for the muse. He knew that the muse is a fickle employee who only shows up when she sees you working. The repetition phrase for this chapter is, the plan decides, not your feelings. Write that on your mirror. Set it as your phone wallpaper. When you find yourself standing in front of the refrigerator at 10 p.m. or staring at the snooze button, say it out loud, the plan decides, not my feelings. It is a mantra that cuts through the fog of emotional resistance. It reminds you that you are a person of your word. 12 to 3 p.m., reinforcement, time blocking and identity anchoring. How do we apply this today? We start with 2 tactical tools, time blocking and identity anchoring. Time blocking is the death of the to-do list. To-do lists are dangerous because they give you the illusion of productivity without the commitment of time. A to-do list says, I should do this. A schedule says, I'm doing this at 2 p.m. for 90 minutes. When you time block, you are assigning a home to every task. If it doesn't have a home, it won't get done. Your goal is to look at your calendar and see a series of non-negotiable appointments, not with your boss or your clients, but with yourself. Identity anchoring is the psychological glue that holds the schedule together. You must stop saying, "I'm trying to be more disciplined." That is the language of a victim. Instead, anchor the action to your identity. Say, "I am the type of person who never misses a Monday." Or, "I am a writer, and writers produce pages every morning." You don't work when you feel like it. You work because it is an expression of who you are. When you work out while tired, you aren't just burning calories. You are casting a vote for your new identity as a disciplined person. Each time you obey the schedule, the evidence of your new identity grows. As we close chapter 1, remember this: your feelings are a weather pattern. They change every hour. But your schedule is the bedrock. The storm may come, the wind may blow, and you may feel like quitting, but the bedrock does not move. Obey the schedule. The plan decides. Your feelings can catch up later. Chapter 2, Motivation is a visitor, discipline is a resident, midnight to 3 o'clock, the high of the first day. We have all experienced the spark. It's that surge of electricity you feel after watching an inspiring documentary, reading a transformative book, or looking at yourself in the mirror on January 1st and deciding that enough is enough. In that moment, everything feels possible. You feel like you could run through a brick wall. You buy the gym membership, you buy the expensive planners, you clear out the pantry, and you tell everyone who will listen that everything is changing. This is motivation. And motivation feels incredible. It's a chemical cocktail, a hit of dopamine and adrenaline that makes the future look bright and the work look easy. But there is a dark side to this high. Motivation is a fair-weather friend. It shows up when the sun is shining and the coffee is hot, but the moment things get difficult, the moment the initial excitement wears off and the grind begins, motivation quietly slips out the back door without saying goodbye. Most people are motivation addicts. They spend their lives chasing that first-day feeling. When the feeling fades, they assume something is wrong. They think they've lost their passion, so they quit and go looking for a new spark, a new hobby, or a new career. They are waiting for a visitor who has no intention of staying. In this chapter, we recognize motivation for what it is, a visitor. We are going to stop relying on guests to run our household. Instead, we are going to hire a permanent resident. Discipline. 3 to 7 o'clock, the argument. Structural versus emotional. The fundamental difference between motivation and discipline is the difference between an emotion and a structure. Motivation is a feeling. It's internal, it's volatile, and it's largely outside of your direct control. You cannot will yourself to feel motivated any more than you can will yourself to feel happy when you're grieving. It is a biological response to novelty or reward. Discipline, however, is structural. It is the plumbing of your life. It is the walls, the roof, and the foundation. Discipline doesn't care how you feel. It is a set of systems that function regardless of the internal weather. Think of a massive cargo ship crossing the Atlantic. The motivation is the wind in the sails. When the wind blows, the ship moves fast and it feels effortless. But the wind eventually dies down. If that ship doesn't have a massive, diesel-powered engine, the discipline, it will sit dead in the water, drifting aimlessly until the next breeze. High achievers don't wait for the wind. They build the engine. Systems outlast emotions because systems are automated. When you have a system, you don't need willpower. Willpower is a finite resource. It's like a battery that drains throughout the day. If you rely on willpower to get your work done, you will fail by 4 p.m. But if you have a system, a ritualized way of operating, the system carries you. You don't have to want to do the work. The system simply dictates that the work is being done. 7 to 11 o'clock, the examples, the amateur versus the professional. Let's look at the visitor in action. Consider 2 people who want to write a book. The amateur waits for inspiration. They wait for that lightning bolt moment where the plot becomes clear and the words flow. When they feel motivated, they might write 3,000 words in a single sitting. They feel like a genius. But then, the visitor leaves. For the next 3 weeks, they don't feel inspired. They stare at the blank screen, feel a sense of dread, and decide to watch Netflix instead. A year later, they have 3 chapters and a lot of excuses. Now, consider the professional. The professional knows that writing is a job. They have a system, 500 words a day, every day, at 8 a.m. On the days they feel inspired, they write their 500 words. On the days they feel like garbage, they write their 500 words. They don't look for the visitor, they are the resident. At the end of the year, the professional has a finished manuscript. It might not all be perfect, but you can edit a bad page. You cannot edit a blank page. We see this in fitness as well. The motivation visitor fills the gyms in January. These people train with incredible intensity for 3 weeks. They go 6 days a week, they juice, they buy the gear. But they have no structure. The moment they get a cold, or have a busy week at work, the momentum breaks, the visitor leaves, and they never return. The discipline resident doesn't care about intensity. They care about consistency. They might only go to the gym 3 days a week, but they haven't missed a session in 4 years. They have automated the habit. They have bad day routines, which we will discuss later, that ensure they show up even when the visitor is nowhere to be found. The repetition phrase for this chapter is, visitors don't build houses. Think about that. A visitor might come over, admire the view, and drink your wine, but they aren't the ones laying the bricks in the rain. They aren't the ones fixing the leak in the roof at 2 a.m. If you want to build a life, a house of achievement, health, and wealth, you cannot rely on people who are just passing through. You need a resident. You need discipline. 11 to 3 p.m., reinforcement. Building a bad day-proof routine. How do we move from relying on the visitor to installing the resident? We do it by building routines that are designed to run even when everything goes wrong. Most people design their routines for their best days. They plan a schedule that requires 100% energy, perfect health, and 0 interruptions. But life doesn't work that way. Discipline is built for the bad days. Step 1. Automate the start. The hardest part of any task is the transition, moving from not doing to doing. Discipline creates a starting ritual that requires 0 thought. If you're a runner, the resident's job is simply to put on the shoes. Don't worry about the 5 miles. Just automate the shoes. If you're a coder, the resident's job is to open the IDE and the first ticket. Step 2. The minimum viable action, MVA. On a day when the visitor, motivation, has abandoned you and you feel like you have 0 energy, you do not skip the task. Instead, you perform the MVA. If your workout is 60 minutes, the MVA is 10 minutes. If your writing goal is 1,000 words, the MVA is 50 words. If your study goal is 3 hours, the MVA is 15 minutes. Why? Because the goal isn't the work itself. The goal is protecting the resident. By doing the MVA, you are proving to yourself that you are still in control. You are maintaining the structural integrity of your house. Step 3. Consistency over intensity. Motivation loves intensity. It loves the all-nighter and the heroic effort. Discipline loves boring consistency. A resident knows that 20 minutes of daily focus is worth more than a 10-hour burst once a month. As we conclude Chapter 2, look at your current goals. Ask yourself, am I waiting for a visitor to show up before I start? Or have I built a house that I live in every day? Stop checking the door for motivation. It's not coming today. And that's fine. You're the resident. You have work to do. Lay the next brick. Visitors don't build houses. Discipline does. Chapter 3. Kill the comfort loop, midnight to 3 o'clock, the gilded cage. We live in the most comfortable era in human history. We have climate-controlled rooms, food that appears at our door with a swipe of a finger, and an infinite library of entertainment in our pockets. From a biological perspective, we have won. For 99% of human evolution, the goal was to find comfort, conserve energy, and avoid friction. If our ancestors found a soft place to sit and a high-calorie meal, they stayed there because movement meant risk and effort meant potential starvation. But here is the modern tragedy. Your brain is still operating on that ancient software. It still thinks that comfort equals survival. Every time you choose the couch over the gym or the mindless scroll over the difficult project, your primal brain is patting you on the back, saying, "Good job. You're safe. You're saving energy. You're surviving." But in the modern world, comfort is no longer a tool for survival. It has become a gilded cage. It is a slow-acting poison that creates stagnation disguised as safety. When you spend too much time in the comfort loop, your world begins to shrink. Your tolerance for stress evaporates. Tasks that used to be manageable now feel overwhelming. You become emotionally fragile because you have lost the callus on your soul. In this chapter, we are going to learn how to identify the comfort loop and, more importantly, how to kill it before it kills your potential. 3 to 7 o'clock, the argument. Growth requires intentional friction. If you want a muscle to grow, you cannot take it to a spa. You cannot wrap it in warm towels and play soft music. If you want a muscle to grow, you must subject it to friction. You must tear the fibers. You must put it under a weight that it is not yet comfortable lifting. Growth, by definition, is an uncomfortable process. The same rule applies to your character and your career. Growth requires intentional friction. The comfort loop is a closed circuit. You do what is easy, which makes you feel safe in the short term. However, because you haven't grown, your self-esteem begins to drop. You know you are capable of more, but you aren't doing more. That gap between your potential and your reality creates a quiet, persistent anxiety. To numb that anxiety, you seek, you guessed it, more comfort. You eat the junk food, you watch the show, you scroll the feed. The loop closes. To break out, you must introduce a glitch in the system. You must intentionally choose the path of most resistance. Most people think that successful people have a higher pain tolerance. That's not quite right. Successful people have a higher friction tolerance. They have trained themselves to see resistance not as a signal to stop, but as a signal that growth is happening. If there is no friction, there is no progress. If it feels easy, you are likely coasting, and you can only coast in one direction, downhill. 7 to 11 o'clock, the examples. Scrolling versus building. Let's look at the most common comfort loop in the 21st century, the digital sedation. Imagine you have a dream to start a side business, write a book, or learn a new language. You come home from your 9 to 5 job. You are tired. Your feelings tell you that you deserve a break. You sit on the couch and open an app. 30 minutes pass. Then 60. Then 2 hours. You aren't actually resting. Your brain is being bombarded with high-speed stimuli, dopamine spikes, and social comparison. You are in the comfort loop. You chose scrolling, low friction, zero reward, over building, high friction, high reward. Building requires you to sit in silence with your thoughts. It requires you to face the possibility of failure. It requires you to solve problems that don't have an immediate answer. That is friction. The comfort loop tells you to avoid that friction. It says, why struggle with a difficult paragraph when you can watch a 30-second video of someone else living their dream? We also see this in the easy task trap. Many people think they are being disciplined because they are busy. They spend all day answering low-priority emails, organizing their desk, or color-coding their calendar. These are easy tasks. They provide the feeling of productivity without the friction of progress. They are doing the easy things to avoid the one hard thing that actually moves the needle. Discipline is the ability to ignore the easy tasks and move directly toward the friction. It is the ability to say, I don't need to feel safe, I need to grow. The repetition phrase for this chapter is, comfort now, regret later. Every time you are faced with a choice between the easy path and the right path, whisper that to yourself. Comfort now, regret later. The pain of discipline lasts minutes or hours. The pain of regret, the knowledge that you traded your potential for a few hours of mindless ease, lasts a lifetime. 11 to 3 p.m., reinforcement, the discomfort rule. How do we kill the comfort loop in our daily lives? We do it by making discomfort a non-negotiable part of our daily diet. We introduce the discomfort rule. The rule is simple. Do one hard thing first every single day. Before you check your phone, before you have your coffee, before you let the world tell you what to do, find the thing you are dreading the most and attack it. 1. Identify the friction point. What is the one task on your list that makes your stomach turn slightly? Is it the difficult phone call? The first 500 words of the report? The cold shower? That is your target. That is the hard thing. 2. Attack it early. Your willpower is a battery. In the morning, it is at 100%. As the day goes on, every decision you make, every traffic jam you sit in, and every email you read drains that battery. If you wait until 4 p.m. to do the hard thing, you won't do it. You will seek comfort instead. By doing it first, you ensure that you have the maximum amount of energy to overcome the friction. 3. The psychological afterburn. There is a massive psychological benefit to doing the hard thing first. When you overcome intentional friction at 8 a.m., the rest of your day feels lighter. You carry a winner's momentum. You've already defeated the comfort loop, so the minor inconveniences of the day, a rude coworker, a late train, don't bother you as much. You have built emotional armor. 4. Seek micro discomforts. Throughout the day, look for small ways to kill the comfort loop. Take the stairs instead of the elevator. Park at the back of the parking lot. End your shower with 30 seconds of cold water. Sit in silence for 10 minutes without your phone. These micro discomforts are like lifting light weights for your discipline. They train your brain to stop fearing friction. You are teaching your nervous system that you are the type of person who chooses the hard path. As we conclude Chapter 3, realize that the easy life is a lie. The people who seek the most comfort are often the most miserable. They are haunted by what they could have been. Kill the loop. Lean into the friction. Choose the hard thing. Because remember, comfort now, regret later. Discipline now, freedom later. Chapter 4. Decide once, execute daily, midnight to 3 o'clock, the exhaustion of choice. Imagine your brain is like a high-performance smartphone. Every morning, you wake up with a full 100% battery. But here is the catch, every single decision you make, no matter how small, background processes a little bit of that energy. Should I wake up now or hit snooze? Battery drops to 98%. What should I wear today? 96%. What should I have for breakfast? 94%. Should I go to the gym this morning or go after work? 90%. By the time you actually sit down to do your most important work at 9 a.m., you've already burned 10% to 15% of your cognitive fuel on things that don't actually move the needle of your life. This phenomenon is called decision fatigue. It is a very real psychological state where the quality of your decisions deteriorates after a long session of decision-making. This is why you find it easy to eat a healthy salad at noon, but find it nearly impossible to resist pizza at 8 p.m. It's not that you became a bad person in those 8 hours. It's that your mental battery is depleted. You've run out of the energy required to decide to be disciplined. Most people live in a state of constant, low-level negotiation. They are constantly re-evaluating their commitments. They decide to go on a diet, but then every single meal becomes a fresh debate. Well, it's my co-worker's birthday, so maybe I can have cake today and skip the carbs tomorrow. This constant redeciding is exhausting. It is the silent killer of consistency. In this chapter, we are going to learn how to decide once so that you can execute daily. 3 to 7 o'clock, the argument. Commitment versus interest. There is a massive difference between being interested in a goal and being committed to a goal. When you are interested in something, you only do it when it's convenient. You check your feelings to see if they are in alignment with the task. You treat every day as a new opportunity to weigh the pros and cons. When you are committed, you accept no excuses, only results. You have decided once. The power of deciding once is that it removes the mental tab. Think of your brain like a web browser. Every time you have a maybe in your life, maybe I'll work out, maybe I won't, it's like having a browser tab left open in the background. It's draining your RAM. It's making the whole system run slower. When you make a final, non-negotiable decision, you close the tab. The energy that was being used to debate the action is now fully available to execute the action. High performers are often called boring or rigid by those on the outside. But they aren't rigid, they are efficient. They know that willpower is a finite resource, so they automate the mundane to preserve their genius for the exceptional. They don't want to waste a single drop of mental energy on deciding what time to wake up or what to eat. They have already made those decisions. They made them months ago. They are simply living out the script they wrote for themselves. 7 to 11 o'clock, the examples. The power of the non-negotiable. Let's look at the world's most successful people. There is a reason why Steve Jobs wore the same black turtleneck and jeans every day. There is a reason why Mark Zuckerberg is almost always seen in a grey t-shirt. It wasn't because they couldn't afford a stylist. It was because they knew they had a limited amount of decision energy each day. They didn't want to waste it on a closet. They decided once on their wardrobe so they could decide 1,000 times on their products. Barack Obama once said in an interview, "You'll see I only wear grey or blue suits. I'm trying to pare down decisions. I don't want to make decisions about what I'm eating or wearing, because I have too many other decisions to make." This concept applies to your habits as well. Think of the fixed routine. Consider a world-class violinist. They don't wake up and ask, "Should I practice today?" If they did, they would eventually say no. Instead, they have a rule: I practice for 4 hours starting at 8 a.m. The decision is dead. Only the execution remains. Consider the person who has decided once that they do not drink alcohol. When they go to a party and someone offers them a drink, there is no mental struggle. They don't have to weigh the social pressure against their hangover. They don't have to look at the drink and wonder if one won't hurt. They have a personal rule: I don't drink. The debate is over. The energy is saved. They can enjoy the party without the silent sabotage of decision fatigue. The repetition phrase for this chapter is, decision fatigue is silent sabotage. Repeat that whenever you find yourself thinking about whether to do what you said you would do. If you are thinking about it, you are being sabotaged. You are leaking energy. Stop thinking. Start executing the decision you already made. 11 to 3 p.m. Reinforcement. Create personal rules to eliminate debates. How do you implement this? You move from intentions to personal rules. Intentions are weak, rules are strong. An intention is, I want to save more money. A rule is, 10% of every paycheck is automatically moved to savings before I see it. Here is how you decide once for your own life. 1. Identity your energy leaks. Where do you find yourself negotiating with yourself the most? Is it the snooze button? Is it what to eat for lunch? Is it whether to work on your side hustle after the kids go to bed? These are your energy leaks. 2. Turn the decision into a law. Take one of those leaks and create a decide once policy for it. The diet policy: I don't eat sugar Monday through Friday. No more debating the dessert menu at lunch. The morning policy: my phone stays in the kitchen until I have finished my deep work. No more checking just one thing in bed. The fitness policy: I show up to the gym at 5:30 p.m. even if I only stay for 10 minutes. No more looking at the clock and wondering if you're too tired. 3. Automate the environment. Make it impossible to redecide. If you've decided once to eat healthy, remove the junk food from your house. If you've decided once to wake up early, put the alarm clock on the other side of the room. Your environment should be the enforcer of your rules. 4. The once and for all mindset. When you make a commitment, see it as a contract you signed with a version of yourself that was smarter than you are right now. When you're tired, you're dumber. You're more emotional. You're more prone to comfort seeking. Why would you let the tired you overrule the smart you who made the plan? Respect the smart you. Stick to the contract. As we close chapter 4, remember that every maybe is a leak in your boat. If you want to get to your destination, you need a hull that is sealed tight. You need a life of yes and no, not we'll see. Stop the debate. Close the tabs. Decide once, execute daily. Chapter 5. Your identity follows your actions. Midnight to 3 o'clock. The myth of believing in yourself. If you've ever browsed the self-help section of a bookstore or scrolled through inspirational social media, you've heard the same advice 1,000 times. You just have to believe in yourself. They tell you that if you can just visualize the success, manifest the confidence, and truly feel like a winner deep in your soul, then, and only then, will you have the power to take action. I am here to tell you that this is mathematically and psychologically backwards. Waiting to believe in yourself before you act is like a person standing in front of a cold fireplace and saying, "Give me some heat, and then I'll put in some wood." It doesn't work that way. The wood comes first. The heat is the result. Confidence is not a prerequisite for action. It is a byproduct of action. Most people are trapped in a state of identity fraud. They try to convince their brain that they are successful, disciplined, or healthy through positive affirmations and faking it till they make it. But your brain is smarter than that. Your brain is a world-class lie detector. If you tell yourself, "I am a disciplined person," while you are currently lying on the couch for the 4th hour in a row, your brain simply registers a mismatch. This creates cognitive dissonance, which leads to even more anxiety and lower self-esteem. You cannot lie to your own nervous system. You cannot think your way into a new identity. You must act your way into it. In this chapter, we explore why your identity doesn't lead your actions, it follows them. 3 to 7 o'clock, the argument, the observer in your mind. There is a theory in social psychology called self-perception theory, developed by Darrell Bem. It suggests that people develop their attitudes and identities by observing their own behavior. In simpler terms, you learn who you are the same way you learn who a stranger is, by watching what they do. If you see a stranger pick up litter in the park, you conclude, that is a person who cares about the environment. If you see yourself wake up at 5 a.m. to work on a difficult project 3 days in a row, your brain looks at that behavior and concludes, I guess I'm the type of person who is disciplined. Your identity is not a fixed stone, it is a tally of votes. Every action you take is a vote for the person you are becoming. When you choose the salad over the fries, you are casting a vote for a healthy identity. When you finish the report early, you are casting a vote for a productive identity. When you keep your room clean, you are casting a vote for an organized identity. The beauty of this system is that you don't need a landslide victory to change who you are. You just need a majority. You don't have to be perfect, you just need to ensure that by the end of the day, the new you has more votes than the old you. This is why feelings later is so vital. If you wait until you feel like an athlete to go to the gym, you will never cast the vote. But if you go to the gym while feeling like a lazy, tired person, and you do the work anyway, the vote still counts. In fact, that vote counts double because you did it under duress. You prove to your brain that your identity is stronger than your temporary mood. 7 to 11 o'clock, the examples, I'm trying versus I am. Let's look at the power of language in shaping this identity action loop. Imagine 2 people are offered a cigarette. Both are trying to quit. The first person says, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit." The second person says, "No thanks, I'm not a smoker." It's a tiny difference in words, but a massive difference in identity. The first person still identifies as a smoker who is currently attempting to change their behavior. They are negotiating. They are waiting for their feelings to catch up. The second person has shifted their identity. They have decided once. By stating "I am not a smoker," they have signaled to their brain that the debate is over. Their actions, refusing the cigarette, are now a natural expression of who they are, not a difficult struggle against who they used to be. We see this in the world of art and business as well. Many people say, "I'm trying to start a business," or "I'm trying to write a book." As long as you use the word trying, you are giving yourself an out. You are telling your brain that the identity hasn't stuck yet. Compare that to the person who says, "I am a writer." A writer is someone who writes. Therefore, if they want to maintain that identity, they must write. The identity provides the identity pressure that drives the action. The repetition phrase for this chapter is, act first, believe later. Don't wait for the belief to arrive. It's not coming to the door to pick you up. You have to go out and find it in the middle of the work. If you want to believe you are a courageous person, you must do something that scares you. If you want to believe you are a focused person, you must put your phone in another room and work for 60 minutes. The belief is the trophy you win at the end of the race, not the fuel you put in the tank at the start. 11 to 3 p.m., reinforcement, identity stacking and small wins. How do we practically apply this? We use a technique called identity stacking. Identity stacking is the process of accumulating micro wins to overwhelm your old self-concept. If you have spent 20 years believing you are lazy or disorganized, a single day of hard work won't change your mind. Your brain will dismiss it as an outlier. To change a long-held identity, you need a mountain of evidence. 1. The 2-minute proof. If you want to become a reader, don't start by trying to read 50 books a year. Start by reading 2 pages every night before bed. It seems too small to matter, but it's not about the knowledge in the pages, it's about the proof. Every night you open that book, you are proving to yourself, I am a reader. You are stacking the identity. 2. Never miss twice. Identity is built on consistency, not perfection. You will have bad days. You will skip a workout. You will eat the junk food. But the old you uses that one mistake to say, see? I knew you couldn't do it. You're still the same old person. The new you follows the rule, never miss twice. 1 miss is an accident. 2 misses is the start of a new identity. By getting back on track immediately, you cancel out the vote for the old self. 3. Celebrate the action, not the outcome. Most people wait for a big result, like losing 20 pounds or getting a promotion, to feel good about themselves. But results take time. If you wait for the result to change your identity, you'll quit before you get there. Instead, celebrate the fact that you did the thing you said you would do. If you went to the gym on a day you didn't feel like it, that is a massive victory for your identity, regardless of how many calories you burned. Tell yourself, I am the type of person who shows up when it's hard. 4. Externalize the identity. Sometimes your brain needs a physical anchor. If you are an athlete, wear your gym clothes. If you are a professional, dress the part even if you work from home. If you are a writer, have a dedicated space that looks like a writer's studio. These external cues remind your brain of the identity you are currently building. As we wrap up Chapter 5, stop looking for confidence. Stop waiting for the feeling of being a winner. Go out today and do something that a disciplined person would do. Do it poorly. Do it while you're tired. Do it while you're doubting yourself. But do it. Your actions are the architect of your identity. Act first. The belief will follow. Chapter 6. Stop negotiating with yourself, midnight to 3 o'clock, the inner lawyer. We all have a world-class defense attorney living inside our heads. This attorney is brilliant, persuasive, and incredibly observant. This inner lawyer has one client, your comfort. And they have one job, to negotiate you out of every difficult, uncomfortable, or disciplined thing you have ever planned to do. Think about the last time you decided to start a new habit. Maybe it was waking up at 6 a.m. When the alarm went off, the inner lawyer immediately went to work. They didn't say, don't do it. They were much more subtle. They said, you had a really late night. Your health is important, and sleep is the foundation of health. If you wake up now, you'll be less productive at work. It's actually more disciplined to sleep for another 30 minutes so you can be at your best for the team. It sounds so logical. It sounds so reasonable. But it is a lie. The moment you engage in that conversation, you have already lost. The moment you allow a debate to occur between your goals and your current mood, you are giving your emotions a seat at the table they haven't earned. In this chapter, we are going to learn how to disbar your inner lawyer. We are going to learn why negotiation is the primary cause of inconsistency and how to move toward a state of zero debate. 3 to 7 o'clock, the argument, the cost of internal bargaining. Every time you negotiate with yourself and lose, you aren't just skipping a workout or hitting a snooze button. You are performing a microsurgery on your character, and you are cutting out a piece of your self-trust. When you make a plan and then negotiate your way out of it, you are training your brain to believe that your word is meaningless. You are teaching your subconscious that your intentions are merely opening offers rather than final commands. Over time, this creates a state of internal paralysis. You stop setting big goals because, deep down, you know you're just going to negotiate them away when they get hard. Negotiation is also a massive drain on your mental energy. As we discussed in the chapter on decision fatigue, the act of thinking about doing it is often more exhausting than the doing itself. Think about a cold swimming pool. If you stand on the edge and negotiate with yourself, should I jump? Maybe I'll just put my toe in. What if it's too cold? I'll wait 5 minutes. You are suffering the whole time. You are cold, you are anxious, and you are wasting time. If you simply jump, the shock lasts for 3 seconds, and then you are swimming. The negotiation is the source of the suffering, not the water. In the world of discipline, there is no middle ground. You are either a person who executes, or you are a person who negotiates. There is no such thing as just this once. Every just this once is a crack in the dam. And once the dam has a crack, the flood of mediocrity is inevitable. 7 to 11 o'clock, the examples, the snooze button and the 5-minute trap. Let's look at the most common scene of the crime, the bedroom at 6 a.m. The snooze button is the physical manifestation of internal negotiation. When you set your alarm the night before, you made a contract. When you hit snooze, you are attempting to renegotiate that contract under duress. The you at 6 a.m. is the least qualified person in the world to be making decisions about your future. That version of you is tired, foggy, and desperate for comfort. Why would you give that person the power to override the you who wants to be successful? We see this in the delayed goal trap as well. Imagine you promised yourself you'd work on your business for 1 hour after dinner. Dinner ends, and you feel a little bloated. The inner lawyer stands up. You should just relax for 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes of TV to let your food digest, and then you'll be in a much better headspace to work. Those 5 minutes are negotiation. Those 5 minutes almost always turn into 50 minutes. And even if you do start working after 50 minutes, you do so with a sense of guilt and diminished energy. You have allowed the negotiator to win the first round, and once you give an inch to your comfort-seeking brain, it will take a mile. The repetition phrase for this chapter is, no debate, just action. This is your mental circuit breaker. When you feel the inner lawyer starting their opening statement, the moment you hear the word but or maybe or tomorrow, you must cut the power. You don't argue back. You don't try to explain why you should work out. You don't try to win the debate. You simply end the debate. You move your body. Action is the only thing that silences the negotiator. 11 to 3 p.m., reinforcement, the 5-second action rule. To stop the negotiation, you need a physical override switch. We use the 5-second action rule. The science behind this is simple. There is a short window, about 5 seconds, between the moment you have an impulse to act on a goal and the moment your brain steps in to negotiate you out of it. If you do not physically move within those 5 seconds, your brain will kill the idea. 1. The countdown. The moment you feel the resistance, the moment the inner lawyer opens their mouth, count backwards, 5-4-3-2-1. The counting does something brilliant. It shifts the gear in your brain from the emotional lizard brain to the logical prefrontal cortex. It distracts you from the excuses and focuses you on the movement. 2. Physical movement. The countdown must end with a physical action. If you are in bed, you stand up. If you are on the couch, you put the phone down. If you are staring at a blank screen, you type one sentence. You must break the stasis. Discipline is a physical game, not a mental one. You cannot think your way out of a negotiation. You have to move your way out of it. 3. Kill the middleman. The middleman is the space between the thought and the action. Negotiators live in that space. Your goal is to make that space as small as possible. High-discipline people have almost no middleman. They think gym, and they are already in the car. They think email, and their fingers are on the keys. By eliminating the gap, you give the inner lawyer no time to prepare a case. 4. The non-negotiable list. Identify 3 things in your life that are off the table for debate. For most, these should be the wake-up time, the daily movement to exercise, the primary work task. Tell yourself, I can negotiate about what I have for lunch. I can negotiate about what movie we see. But I will never negotiate about these 3 things. When a task is non-negotiable, it moves from the decision category to the fact category. You don't decide to breathe. You just do it. You don't decide to be disciplined. It's just a fact of your existence. As we wrap up Chapter 6, recognize that your inner lawyer is not your friend. They are a saboteur dressed in a suit of reasonableness. They want you to stay small, stay safe, and stay comfortable. From this moment forward, when the alarm goes off, or the work gets hard, or the cravings start, remember the rule: no debate, just action. 5-4-3-2-1. Go. Chapter 7. Discipline builds emotional stability. Midnight to 3 o'clock, the myth of the carefree life. There is a pervasive image in our culture of the free spirit, the person who lives without a schedule, who follows their whims, who wakes up whenever they want and does whatever they feel like doing. We are told that this is the pinnacle of human happiness. We are told that discipline, routines, and structures are a prison that stifles our natural joy and creativity. But if you look closely at the lives of people who live without structure, you won't find peace. You will find a quiet, simmering desperation. You will find high levels of anxiety, constant overwhelm, and emotional volatility. The truth is the exact opposite of what the world tells you. Chaos is the true prison. Discipline is the key to the gates. When you live a life without discipline, you are in a constant state of emergency mode. Because you don't have a schedule, you are always behind. Because you haven't pre-decided your actions, you are constantly forced to react to the world. You are a leaf in a hurricane, blown about by every email, every news headline, and every minor inconvenience. This creates a physiological state of chronic stress. In this chapter, we are going to explore why discipline is actually the ultimate form of emotional self-care. We will see how structure acts as emotional armor, protecting your internal peace from the external world. We will learn that the more you control your actions, the less the world can control your emotions. 3 to 7 o'clock, the argument. Uncertainty is the mother of anxiety. To understand why discipline builds stability, we have to understand the brain. Your brain is not a happiness machine. It is an anticipation machine. Its primary job is to scan the environment, predict what is going to happen next, and prepare your body to handle it. The brain thrives on predictability. When your brain knows that at 8 a.m. you write, at 12 p.m. you eat, and at 5 p.m. you move, it can operate in a state of calm. It doesn't have to waste resources wondering, what are we doing? Are we safe? Are we forgetting something? However, when you live a chaotic lifestyle, you are feeding your brain a constant diet of uncertainty. Every hour is a fresh question mark. This triggers the amygdala, the brain's alarm system. Uncertainty signals danger to the primitive brain. This is why a messy desk, a cluttered schedule, and a list of unkept promises to yourself lead to that heavy, tight feeling in your chest. That isn't work stress, that is uncertainty stress. Discipline removes the question marks. By creating a structure, you are giving your brain a map. You are telling your nervous system, I've got this. We have a plan. You don't need to be on high alert. Furthermore, discipline provides a floor for your bad days. We all have days where we feel sad, angry, or unmotivated. If you have no discipline, those emotions will pull you into a downward spiral. You'll stay in bed, eat poorly, and skip your responsibilities, which makes you feel even worse. But if you have discipline, the routine carries you through. You do the work anyway, you eat the healthy meal anyway, and you move your body anyway. These actions act as a stabilizer. They prevent your mood from bottoming out. Structure doesn't just make you more productive, it makes you harder to break. 7 to 11 o'clock, the examples, the reactive life versus the proactive life. Let's look at two different versions of a Tuesday morning. Person A lives the reactive life. They wake up when they feel like it, usually after hitting snooze 3 times. The first thing they do is reach for their phone. Within 30 seconds, they are reacting to a stressful news story, an annoying work email, and a social media post that makes them feel inadequate. They are already behind. They rush through a shower, grab a sugary snack, and drive to work while fighting traffic. Their internal state is one of frantic survival. By 10 a.m., they are emotionally exhausted. When a coworker makes a slightly rude comment, person A snaps. Their emotional stability is non-existent because they have no structure to anchor them. Person B lives the proactive life. They wake up at a pre-decided time, regardless of their mood. They have a 30-minute ritual that involves no screens. They meditate, they hydrate, and they write down their primary goal for the day. They have already won the first hour of the day. When they sit in the same traffic as person A, they aren't stressed. Why? Because they left on time. When they receive the same annoying email, it doesn't ruin their mood. Why? Because they have a time block for emails later in the day, and they know they will handle it then. Person B has emotional armor. Because they have disciplined their morning, they have built a reservoir of calm that they can draw from when the world gets chaotic. The repetition phrase for this chapter is, structure creates peace. When your life feels like it's spinning out of control, when the kids are screaming, the boss is demanding, and the bills are piling up, the answer isn't to relax. The answer is to structure. You cannot always control the hurricane, but you can always control the flight plan. The tighter your discipline, the more peaceful your internal world becomes. Peace isn't found in a vacation, it's found in a routine. 11 to 3 p.m., reinforcement. Daily rituals for focus and mental silence. How do we build this emotional armor? We do it through the implementation of anchors and shutdowns. 1. The morning anchor. The first 60 minutes of your day are the most important for your emotional stability. This is where you set the tone for your nervous system. No input. Do not check your phone. Do not let the world's chaos into your mind until you have built your own order. The 3 pillars. Your morning anchor should include a physical pillar, stretching or movement, a mental pillar, planning or journaling, and a spiritual pillar, silence or meditation. This anchor tells your brain, I'm the one in control today. 2. The transition ritual. Many people carry the stress of work into their home life, or the stress of home life into their work. This emotional bleeding creates instability. Use a simple 5-minute discipline to close the door. When you finish work, take 5 minutes to write down what you need to do tomorrow. Close your laptop and physically change your clothes. This small discipline signals to your brain that one chapter is over and another has begun. It prevents mental noise from following you. 3. The evening shutdown. Anxiety is often caused by the open loops of things we haven't done yet. Before bed, perform a brain dump. Write everything down. Then, look at your schedule for tomorrow. When you decide once what tomorrow looks like, you give your brain permission to sleep. You are using discipline to buy yourself rest. 4. The check-in discipline. Twice a day, noon and 6 p.m. Stop for 60 seconds. Ask yourself, am I following the plan or am I reacting to the world? If you've drifted into reactive mode, don't judge yourself. Simply return to the schedule. This micro-discipline is like recalibrating a compass. It prevents a small emotional detour from becoming a total wreck. As we conclude Chapter 7, understand that discipline is not about being a robot. It is about being a master of your own experience. A robot has no choice. You are choosing the structure because you value your sanity. You don't have to be a victim of your moods. You don't have to be a slave to your anxiety. Build the walls. Set the schedule. Create the rituals. Structure creates peace. Discipline creates freedom. Your feelings will follow the order you create. Chapter 8. Small wins compound into self-respect. Midnight to 3 o'clock, the mirror of truth. We often talk about self-esteem as if it is something we can conjure out of thin air. We are told to stand in front of the mirror and recite positive affirmations. I am worthy. I am powerful. I am a success. But for many of us, as we say those words, a small, quiet voice in the back of our minds whispers back, no, you're not. You're the person who said they'd start that project 3 months ago and hasn't touched it. You're the person who ate the entire bag of chips last night. You're a liar. That voice isn't being mean, it's being honest. You cannot trick your brain into respecting you. Self-respect is not a vibe. It is not a gift you give yourself because you deserve it. Self-respect is a high-interest savings account that only accepts one currency: kept promises. Most people are suffering from a self-trust deficit. They have spent years setting goals and then abandoning them. They have spent years telling themselves tomorrow is the day, and then letting tomorrow become never. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you take a withdrawal from that account. Eventually, the account goes into the red. Your internal reputation is ruined. You no longer believe your own words. In this chapter, we are going to learn how to rebuild that reputation. We are going to stop looking for confidence in books and start building it in the real world. We are going to learn that confidence is nothing more than earned evidence. We don't start with belief, we start with proof. 3 to 7 o'clock, the argument. Confidence is earned evidence. There is a massive difference between arrogance and confidence. Arrogance is a mask for insecurity. It is a loud declaration of superiority without any foundation. Real confidence, however, is quiet. It is the deep, internal knowledge that you are capable of handling whatever is in front of you. How do you get that knowledge? You earn it. Imagine you had to hire someone to walk a tightrope across a canyon. One candidate says, "I have been visualizing myself crossing this canyon for months. I believe in myself with all my heart. I have a winning mindset." The other candidate says nothing, but hands you a logbook showing that they have successfully crossed 1,000 tightropes of increasing height and difficulty over the last 5 years. Which one do you trust? You trust the evidence. And your brain works the exact same way. Your brain doesn't care about your mindset if your track record is a disaster. It wants to see the logbook. It wants to see the small wins. This is why we focus on small wins. A small win is an action that is so tiny it's almost impossible to fail. It's making the bed. It's drinking 1 glass of water. It's writing 1 sentence. On their own, these actions don't change your life. Making your bed doesn't make you a millionaire. But that's not the point. The point is that the action provides the proof. When you make the bed, you are proving to your brain, "I said I would do this, and I did it." You are making a small deposit into the account of self-respect. When you do it for 7 days in a row, the deposit grows. When you do it for a month, your brain starts to change its opinion of you. It starts to think, maybe we are the type of person who follows through. Consistency builds the bridge of trust. Without consistency, you are a stranger to yourself. With consistency, you become your own most reliable ally. 7 to 11 o'clock, the examples. The Seinfeld strategy and visual proof. One of the most famous examples of the power of small wins is the Seinfeld strategy. When Jerry Seinfeld was a young comedian, he knew that the key to being a better comic was to write better jokes. And the key to writing better jokes was to write every single day. He didn't set a goal to be the best comedian in the world. He didn't set a goal to write a hit sitcom. He simply bought a giant wall calendar and a red marker. Every day that he sat down and wrote, he put a big red X over that day. After a few days, "You'll have a chain," he said. "Just keep at it and the chain will grow longer every day. You'll like seeing that chain, especially when you get a few weeks under your belt. Your only job next is to not break the chain." Seinfeld wasn't focused on the quality of the jokes. He was focused on the evidence of the work. The X was the proof. Every X was a vote for his identity as a writer. Eventually, the evidence was so overwhelming that the success became inevitable. The repetition phrase for this chapter is, "Proof creates belief." We have it backwards. We think we need belief to start. No, you need proof to believe. If you don't believe you can lose weight, don't try to lose 50 pounds. Try to walk for 10 minutes today. When you come home, look at your shoes and say, "There is the proof. I did what I said." That proof is the seed of belief. You water that seed with repetition. This is why visible progress markers are so vital. If you are trying to save money, a digital number on a screen is fine, but a physical jar where you put $1 every day is proof. If you are trying to read more, a stack of books you finished on your nightstand is proof. We are visual creatures. We need to see the evidence of our discipline to believe that our discipline is real. The compound effect is the 8th wonder of the world. It is the idea that tiny, seemingly insignificant changes, when done consistently over time, create radical results. If you improve 1% every day for a year, you don't end up 365% better. Because of compounding, you end up 37 times better. But here is the catch. For the first 100 days, it feels like nothing is happening. This is the valley of disappointment. This is where the feelings first people quit. They don't feel any different, so they stop. But the discipline first person knows that the proof is compounding in the background. They aren't looking for feelings. They are looking for excess on the calendar. 11 to 3 p.m., reinforcement, the compounding effect and the win journal. How do we practically apply the small win strategy to build self-respect? We implement 3 specific disciplines: the win journal, the visual chain, and the 1% rule. 1. The win journal. Every night, before you close your eyes, write down 3 wins from the day. A win is any time you chose discipline over feelings. I felt like scrolling, but I did 10 minutes of reading instead. I felt like skipping the gym, but I went and did 1 set of squats. I felt like snapping at my partner, but I took a breath instead. By writing these down, you are forcing your brain to acknowledge the evidence. You are training your reticular activating system to look for your successes instead of your failures. You are auditing the account of self-respect. 2. The visual chain. Pick one habit that is foundational to your identity. Buy a physical calendar. Every day you complete that habit, mark it with a bold, red X. Place the calendar somewhere you have to see it every single day: the kitchen, the bathroom, next to your computer. The goal is to make the pain of breaking the chain greater than the pain of doing the task. When you see 20xs in a row, you won't want to be the version of yourself that ruins that beautiful line of progress. 3. The 1% rule, the +1 strategy. Stop trying to make giant leaps. Discipline is a marathon, not a sprint. Every week, ask yourself, how can I make this 1% more difficult? If you walk for 10 minutes, next week walk for 11. If you save $10, next week save 11. If you write 100 words, next week write 101. This prevents plateauing and ensures that you are constantly providing your brain with new evidence of your growth. 4. Forgive the past. Focus on the vote. Many people are held back by the ghost of failures past. They think, I've failed so many times, I'll never be disciplined. You must treat your self-respect like a bank account. Yes, you may have a lot of debt, but you cannot pay off debt by crying about it. You pay it off one deposit at a time. Every small win is a payment toward your freedom. Stop looking at the mountain you have to climb. Look at the single step in front of you. Take that step. Then turn around and look at the footprint. That footprint is your proof. As we conclude Chapter 8, realize that self-respect is not a destination you reach, it is a relationship you maintain. It is the result of 1,000 tiny, boring, invisible choices. You don't need the world to believe in you. You don't need your friends or your family to believe in you. You only need the evidence that you can trust yourself. Proof creates belief. Small wins compound. Build your logbook. Keep your word. Chapter 9. Hard days are the real training. Midnight to 3 o'clock, the fair weather trap. Imagine a sailor who only takes his boat out when the sea is as smooth as glass and the wind is a perfect, gentle breeze. He navigates the waters with ease, he looks the part in his crisp uniform, and he returns to the harbour feeling quite accomplished. Now, imagine a storm hits. The waves are 10 feet high, the rain is blinding, and the wind is screaming. This sailor has no idea what to do. His skills were an illusion created by perfect conditions. Most people treat their discipline like that fair-weather sailor. When you wake up after 8 hours of perfect sleep, the sun is shining, your coffee is exactly how you like it, and your to-do list looks manageable, showing up is easy. In fact, on those days, you don't even really need discipline. You're just riding the wave of a good mood. But life is not a series of perfect mornings. Life is messy. Life is exhausting. There will be days when your child is sick all night, days when you have a pounding headache, days when you've just been rejected, and days when you feel a profound, heavy sense of I just don't want to. On those days, most people give themselves a pass. They say, I'll get back to it when things settle down. But here is the secret that the most resilient people on earth know. The pass is the poison. The days you want to do it the least are the days that matter the most. Those aren't the days that interrupt your training. Those days are the training. 3 to 7 o'clock, the argument. Discipline is forged in the red zone. Think about weightlifting. If you can easily curl 20 pounds for 10 repetitions without breaking a sweat, how much stronger are you getting? The answer is, not very. You are simply maintaining your current state. Growth only happens in the red zone, those last 2 or 3 repetitions where your muscles are shaking, your face is turning red, and every fiber of your being is telling you to put the weight down. In those moments of high resistance, your body realizes that its current strength is insufficient. To survive the next session, it must adapt. It must build more fiber. It must become more efficient. Your character works the exact same way. Discipline is a mental muscle. If you only exercise it when the resistance is low, when you feel good, the muscle stays weak. You are just maintaining. But when you show up on a day when the resistance is at its peak, when you are tired, discouraged, or bored, you are in the mental red zone. Every minute of work you do on a bad day is worth an hour of work on a good day. Why? Because on a good day, you are training your skills. On a bad day, you are training your will. We call this the effort margin. The margin is the space between what you want to do and what you must do. The wider that margin, the more growth occurs. If you want to become unshakable, you must stop viewing hard days as obstacles. You must start viewing them as high-value opportunities to accelerate your progress. A workout in the rain isn't just a workout. It's a psychological victory that makes the next sunny day workout feel like a vacation. 7 to 11 o'clock, examples. The rainy day and the grieving pro. Let's look at the world of elite performance. There's a story about a world-class marathon runner who woke up at 4 a.m. to see a torrential downpour outside. His coach called him and said, "Great news. It's raining." The runner was confused. "Why is that great news?" The coach replied, "Because while it's raining, your competition is staying in bed. Every mile you run today counts double. You aren't just getting faster, you're getting tougher than them." The runner realized that the rain wasn't a reason to cancel. The rain was a competitive advantage. If you can perform when the conditions are miserable, you will be unstoppable when the conditions are favorable. Consider the professional who is going through a personal crisis, perhaps a breakup or a family loss. The amateur says, "I need to take a month off to find myself." Now, there is a time for rest and mourning, but the professional knows that routine is a lifeline. There is a famous story about the musician Nick Cave, who, after the tragic loss of his son, returned to his office to write every single day. He said that the disruption of his routine would have been the final blow. By showing up to the desk when his heart was broken, he wasn't being cold, he was being disciplined. He was using the structure of his work to hold himself together. He proved that his commitment to his craft was deeper than his temporary, though profound, emotional state. The repetition phrase for this chapter is, "Bad days count double." Say it when the alarm goes off and your body feels like lead. Bad days count double. Say it when you're at the office and you've just received a frustrating email that makes you want to quit for the day. Bad days count double. When you internalize this, your perspective shifts. Instead of dreading the bad day, you start to look for it. You think, if I can just get through this 1 hour of focus while I'm this tired, I will have gained more ground than I did all of last week. You begin to hunt for the struggle because you know that struggle is where the power is hidden. 11 to 3 p.m., reinforcement, the low power mode protocol. How do we practically handle these hard days without burning out? We don't necessarily need to perform at 100% capacity, but we must perform. We use a strategy called the low power mode protocol. When your phone's battery hits 10%, it doesn't just shut off. It enters low power mode. It dims the screen, stops background refreshes, and focuses only on the essential functions. It keeps running until it can reach a charger. Your discipline should work the same way. 1. Lower the floor, don't remove it. On a hard day, your goal is not to break a world record. Your goal is to keep the streak alive. If you usually run 5 miles, run 1. If you usually write 2,000 words, write 200. If you usually study for 4 hours, study for 20 minutes. This is not settling, it is strategizing. You are refusing to give your inner negotiator a victory. You are proving that even at 10% capacity, you are still the person in charge. 2. The show-up rule. On the days you want to quit, make a deal with yourself. I will just show up and do 5 minutes. If after 5 minutes I truly cannot continue, I will allow myself to stop. 9 times out of 10, once you break the stasis and start the movement, the resistance begins to melt. The hardest part is always the transition. Once you are in the arena, the bad day starts to lose its power over you. 3. Reframe struggle as evidence. When you are in the middle of a difficult task and you feel that familiar urge to quit, stop and observe the feeling. Don't push it away. Instead, say to yourself, this feeling right here? This is the feeling of growth. This is what it feels like to get better. If it felt easy, I wouldn't be changing. Because it's hard, I am evolving. By labeling the struggle as evidence of growth, you take the sting out of it. You move from being a victim of the struggle to being a student of it. 4. The post-game reflection. At the end of a hard day that you successfully navigated, take a moment to acknowledge it. This is the most important win journal entry you will ever make. Write, today was a level 10 difficulty day. I was tired, stressed, and unmotivated. I showed up anyway and did the work. I am now officially harder to break than I was yesterday. As we conclude Chapter 9, stop praying for easy days. Easy days make for weak people. Instead, pray for the strength to endure the hard ones and the discipline to show up when you'd rather be anywhere else. The world is won by the people who show up on the rainy Tuesdays, the tired Wednesdays, and the discouraged Thursdays. Hard days aren't the interruption. They are the training. Bad days count double. Keep going. Chapter 10. Become the person who doesn't break promises to themselves. Midnight to 3 o'clock, the internal betrayal. Imagine you have a best friend. This friend is someone you've known your entire life. But over the last few years, this friend has developed a habit. They tell you they'll meet you for coffee at 8 a.m., but they don't show up until 9 o'clock. They promise to help you move, but on the day of the move, they forget. They swear they'll pay you back the money they owe you, but every time you ask, they have an excuse. How long would that person remain your best friend? Not very long. You would eventually stop trusting them. You wouldn't rely on them for anything important. You might still be polite, but in your heart, you've written them off as unreliable. You've lost respect for them. Now, here is the uncomfortable question. Are you that friend to yourself? Most of us treat our promises to other people as sacred. If we tell our boss a report will be ready by Monday, we stay up all night Sunday to finish it. If we tell a friend we'll pick them up from the airport, we are there on time. We do this because we care about our external reputation. We don't want others to think we are lazy or untrustworthy. But when we make a promise to ourselves, I'm going to start that diet tomorrow, I'm going to spend an hour on my side project tonight, I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m., we break those promises with almost no hesitation. We lie to ourselves more than we would ever dream of lying to a stranger. This is the ultimate form of self-sabotage. In this final chapter, we are going to talk about the highest level of discipline, internal integrity. We are going to learn how to become the person who doesn't break promises to themselves, and why this one shift is the foundation of all true achievement. 3 to 7 o'clock, the argument. Self-trust is the bedrock of achievement. Achievement is not about talent, luck, or even hard work in isolation. Achievement is a result of the relationship you have with your own intentions. If you have a high level of self-trust, your life becomes simple. When you say, I'm going to do X, your brain responds with, okay, then it's as good as done. There is no anxiety, no internal debate, and no doubt. Because you have a track record of keeping your word to yourself, your brain doesn't waste energy on resistance. It simply moves into execution. But if you have spent years breaking promises to yourself, your brain develops a cynicism filter. When you set a new goal, your subconscious mocks you. It says, yeah, right. You said that last month. You said that on New Year's Day. You're just going to quit after 3 days, so why should I bother giving you any energy or focus now? This is why so many people feel stuck. They think they lack motivation, but what they actually lack is self-trust. Discipline is the act of repairing that relationship. Every time you follow through on a personal commitment, especially when it's small and especially when no one is watching, you are sending a message to your subconscious: I am a man of my word. I am a woman of my word. My intentions are not suggestions, they are commands. This is why we say that discipline is self-respect in action. You aren't being disciplined because you want to suffer. You are being disciplined because you respect yourself too much to be a liar. You wouldn't let a stranger lie to you, so why would you let the person in the mirror do it? When you keep your promises, your self-esteem skyrockets. You start to walk differently, talk differently, and dream bigger, because you finally know that you can count on yourself to deliver. 7 to 11 o'clock, the examples, the hidden integrity moments. True discipline isn't what you do when the world is watching. It's not about the social media post or the public accolade. True discipline is what you do in the dark. It is what you do when you are completely alone, and no one would ever know if you cut a corner. Think about the athlete at the end of a long training session. The coach has left. The lights in the gym are dim. The workout says 10 representatives. At rep number 9, the athlete's muscles are screaming. They could easily stop. No one would know. No one is counting. But they do the 10th rep, not for the coach and not for the fans, but for the contract. They made a promise to the workout, and they refuse to break it. Think about the student who decides to study for 2 hours. 1 hour in, they get a text from a friend inviting them to a party. They could go. They could tell themselves, I've done enough. But they stay. They stay because they told themselves 2 hours, and their word must mean something. The repetition phrase for this chapter is, your word must mean something, especially to you. This phrase is the ultimate standard. If your word means nothing to you, then you are a leaf in the wind. You are at the mercy of every whim, every craving, and every external pressure. But when your word is iron, you are a force of nature. High-performance people treat their internal promises with more weight than their external ones. They realize that they can always repair a relationship with a boss or a friend, but repairing the relationship with themselves is a much longer and harder process. They guard their internal integrity with a fierce, almost obsessive level of care. They know that if they lose their word, they lose everything. 11 to 3 p.m., reinforcement, the personal code of conduct. As we conclude this book, I am not going to leave you with a suggestion. I am going to leave you with a mission. You are going to create your personal code of conduct. A code of conduct is a set of 3 to 5 non-negotiable laws that define who you are. This is not a list of goals, it is a list of standards. Goals are about what you want to get. Standards are about who you are. 1. Writing the code. Sit down with a pen and paper. Ask yourself, what are the 3 things that, if I did them every day, would make me respect myself the most? Your code might look like this. Law 1. I wake up when the alarm goes off. No snoozing. Law 2. I move my body for at least 20 minutes every single day. Law 3. I do my most difficult task before I check my phone. Law 4. I never speak negatively about myself or others. 2. The never break rule. Once you have your code, it becomes your religion. You don't negotiate with it. You don't check your mood to see if you want to follow it. You follow it because it is your identity. If you break a law in your code, you don't just shrug it off. You acknowledge that you have committed a breach of integrity. You apologize to yourself, and you get back on track immediately. 3. The 24-hour reset. Discipline is a daily renewal. You don't become disciplined once and then stop. You have to win the war every morning. Your word is only as good as its last 24 hours. The goal is to go to bed every night being able to look in the mirror and say, I kept my word today. 4. The final reframe. As you move forward from this book, remember the title, Discipline First, Feelings Later. You are going to have days where you feel like a failure. You are going to have days where you feel like giving up. You are going to have days where your feelings tell you that none of this matters. On those days, you don't listen to the feelings. You listen to the code. The person you want to become is not a future version of you. The person you want to become is the person who acts with discipline right now. You don't wait to feel like a leader, you lead. You don't wait to feel like an achiever, you achieve. You have the schedule. You have the resident. You've killed the comfort loop. You've stopped the negotiation. You've stacked the identity. You've built the emotional armor. You've collected the proof. You've trained on the hard days. Now, there is only one thing left to do. Be the person who doesn't break promises to themselves. Your life is waiting for you on the other side of your discipline. Your freedom is waiting for you on the other side of your structure. Don't wait to feel like it. Discipline first. Feelings later. Always. Conclusion of discipline first. Feelings later. You have completed the blueprint. The words are finished, but the work is just beginning. Go out and be the evidence. The world doesn't need more people who try, it needs more people who follow through. Your word is your power. Use it.